so this is going to wrap up the first day of the content that I'm creating here. These are some of my favorite builds that I like to use in the Crucible, outside of the Crucible. I just got this botheration, and Fallout put out his recent video about the chaperone. He's just trying to brag about his huge cock. I'm not sure I can say that on this recording, but what's it called? Yeah. So in the background, I'm trying to compare that. But the build that I'm actually going to be using is the Last Word, a Sniper, a Snapshot Quick Draw variant Beloved, and a sword that I have a sprint grip on. It's also, I believe, a lightweight sword. I'm not entirely sure, but it's the Gambit sword. I could be wrong about it being lightweight. I'm not entirely certain about that. I have to be honest. And then I'm also using a 10 resilience build on my Warlock with Getaway Artists and Middle Tree Attunement of Control. So this is a really fun build. I love Attunement and Control. It's my favorite subclass in Warlock, period. I mean, outside of Nova Warp. Nova Warp's just much more expressly fun, but Middle Tree Attunement of Control is just, it has the most flexibility out of any of the subclasses, right? Obviously, if you want to play with Blink, Blink is the best jump in the game, obviously. But if you want to have like stat build deviations and ability build deviations and good exotics and good synergy between your gear and your exotics, then Attunement of Control, if you play Warlock, is probably the best subclass for you to play. I'm using Last Word. And Beloved, again, that's a pretty classic pairing. But Getaway Artist is a really nice exotic for this because you get the Arc Buddies on your shoulder, which is a turret, which does, you know, at most 50 damage. I will also note that I played this without the HUD on, because Cakes just really made he's been doing the stock loadout thing. I missed that shot. Cakes has been doing the stock loadout build section on YouTube. And it's a good series, great series, really fun to enjoy and watch. And I wanted to do the same thing, practice my snipe shot. Drewski is another person who I follow quite a bit, who also makes the Last Word look very good. Tefty Teft is another person who plays with the Last Word really well. And I want to practice my shot. So this is a build that I take into Rumble every once in a while and play with. I practice with the Last Word, I practice with the snipe, I practice with everything that I've got. This is forcing me to use as much awareness as humanly possible, and that's one of the reasons why I have the sword. The sword allows me to 3-peek, and since I don't have a radar, I have to maintain constant visual, looking around and all that kind of stuff. I have to turn my head to look. And the early part of this game is much better than the later half. This is a very fatiguing build to run, because there's a lot of stuff that's kind of coming at you left and right. But the main thing that I like to use this build for is its 10 resilience, which is a high resilience for a Warlock. I have the auto turret on my shoulder, which helps me with the Last Word, so I can practice my ADS scoping, which is why I run this in the first place. It's so I can practice my actual aim with the Last Word, so I can get used to the recoil, so I can get used to the range, so I can get used to the hit registration, so I can get used to everything the Last Word can throw at me. Okay? Now on my boots, I'm using traction. I use traction in everything, okay? I even wrote in like some feedback to some of the developers about, hey, can traction come as a mod, because I can't use anything else? You know, like I don't get to use dexterity perks or anything like that. Like I have to use traction because of the sensitivity that I play on, and so that means that on exotics and that means on non-exotic gear, I'm just looking for traction. That's the only perk that I look for. I don't get to experiment with dynamo or distribution or bomber or enhanced bomber or any of that. I just always use traction. I play on a really high sensitivity in game, and then I also have an elite controller that I use some sensitivity settings on that as well. So those are like essential perks for me. You don't have to do that kind of stuff. You don't have to play like I play. If you like playing on a lower sensitivity, props to you. I feel really claustrophobic if I can't turn my head. That's the reason why I play on a really high sensitivity. If I can't move my head and I can't look around, then I feel really claustrophobic. And a low sensitivity in this game, especially with the low turn radius on the sprint, makes me feel like I can't move, like I'm running through syrup or something like that, you know? Like, it's just really claustrophobic for me. Anyways, the point of this build is, like I said, just to practice the Last Word. I didn't play with the Last Word a lot in D1. I was kind of a casual in D1. Like, strictly speaking, I probably only logged like a total maybe 700 hours, something like that, in all of D1, which is pretty casual. At the time, life was just not... It wasn't something that I could do. But now I have a lot of time to divulge my hobby. I always loved the game, but I just didn't have the time to play it. And now I can actually set aside my time to practice my skills and practice the things that I enjoy. The last word is one of those iconic weapons that you look at, you're like, yeah, dude, I want to get good with that gun, you know? Like, it looks really hard to use, and everybody's using it, and it's really good, and it's got a really fast TTK, it's got a cool ornament, all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to do, like, some strafe, bounce, like, squat peek shotting there, or not peek shotting, but squat shooting and timing the trigger on that. That was a really overly, unnecessarily complicated gunfight. But it's still good to practice that kind of stuff, and that's what this build is for, just to reiterate. This is I'm working on my shot build. I don't really take the last word into games as like my go-to loadout, right? Like, it's not a weapon that I use on a regular basis, but it is a weapon that I do want to get good with. And that's the only reason why I don't use it on a regular basis, is because I don't feel confident with using it. Like, in Rumble, it's one thing, you know, because you've only got like one person shooting at you and all that kind of stuff, and it's okay to kind of pace your shot and get used to the cadence and all that kind of stuff and pick up a kill where you can. But in comp, where there's things on the line and where the game actually matters and your points matter, that's not the environment that I would do it. It's the same thing with sniping, right? Like, I have a beloved for each character. Each is in and around 100 kills, and then I have another one that I put in the vault that has like 400 kills on it since Season of Opulence dropped. I have a Tatara Gaze with 1,000 kills on it. I have a Twilight Oath with a pretty reasonable amount of kills. I think it's only like 100. I don't use Twilight Oath as much. I've got Izanagi's with the Catalyst. I've got quite a few kills on that. I've got the Revoker that has upwards of 300 to 400 kills on it right now. I snipe a lot in quick play, but I don't do it in comp. And that's kind of like the thing, is like, I'm not a confident shot in comp. And I also have like a couple of Bite of Foxes that have some pretty good high numbers on them as well. But that's the thing, is that despite being a competent sniper to an extent, I don't feel confident playing with a sniper in competitive. I think there was only one sniper that I really used in competitive, and that was during Season 3, back in Year 1. I used Alone as a God as my heavy weapon. I had 1,000 kills on that as my heavy weapon in Year 1 when you had to pull bricks off the wall. But I don't use that anymore because that was my Year 1 sniper. Now I've got all these other toys to play with. I have like random perks and all that kind of stuff, so obviously I'm going to play with those. And I keep it in the vault. It's a safe place, you know, it's a special gun and all that kind of stuff, and I really like it. But this gun, this gun build, this gun style, you know, shoot 'em up, all that kind of stuff, games and all that kind of stuff, it's really fun when you have like divergences of play. And that's kind of what this build is as well to me. It's a divergence from my normal lines of play. Yeah, snipers are kind of normal for me to use. I use a lot of snipers, but what isn't normal for me is to use the last word. And Rumble is kind of like a deviation as well. It's the playlist that I enjoy the most currently. There's not as much super spam, and it's, you know, a little bit quieter. It's a little less hectic. You get to kind of have a little bit more time and agency with your life. And, you know, it's a good place to go test out weapons and, you know, just play for fun instead of playing for objectives and worrying about other people on your team and other extraneous factors that you can't control, right? But I do really like this build. It's one that I break out every once in a while and play with. I put on some classical music, some Beethoven, some Bach, and I just listen to some piano, and I just practice my last word shot. And I practice my snipe shot. And I go and I play Rumble for a couple hours here and there. And I really like the way that Getaway artists work with this. I have another Getaway artist build that is more synergistic, but this one's just fun to use because it shaves off another shot from the TTK on the last word for the body shots, and, you know, it makes just playing with these weapons really fun and enjoyable. So that's the last one for today. Glad you liked it.